Hello there, guys. Today's puzzle is a bit more difficult than normal, I would say. We are playing white and we are to win this. Our pawn is going up, either take or go up if we want to move it. We have a knight, but of course, black has more pawns than we do, and just a rook and the knight against the rook will be a draw in the end game if it would end up like that. So, analyze this on your own, post a video, and see if you can find out how white moves and win this. Go ahead. And welcome back. All right. So, we are threatened by the rook here. It can take our knight, so it's simple move. King move, take a pawn here is, of course, nothing good with that. It will take our knight, and we are not winning this. Let's look what we can do with the pawn. If we take here, it's not good enough. We simply lose our knight, and this pawn will be very hard to defend, and also the black rook puts our king in the H file, so that's not winning at all. And playing f7 is a sacrifice that will give us absolutely nothing. Black can take it with either king or rook, and we are not getting anywhere after that. Okay, what about moving our knight? Well, this is a pointless move, of course. Black will simply take here, and we're not getting anywhere. And if we take here, it's not going to be good enough either. This is just a draw. Easiest for black is simply to take this, and even if we can move in with a tempo threat here, doesn't matter. He can start attacking. Even if black loses both these pawns, it's a draw. Only rook and the knight, as I said, against the rook, it's a draw. So that's not good enough either. We have to move our rook. And rook h8 is not the right move. Has some points. We can move with a discovered check if the rook moves or something like that, but it's not threatening enough. He can simply take here the pawn, and this check, well, we can't get anywhere from here. This is a dead draw. So the right move, here it comes. Rook h7. We are attacking this pawn and at the same time protecting our knight, because black cannot take the knight. That will be a simple win for us with a check. Of course. Oh, promote to a queen. And we simply take the pawn here. The king is stuck on the 8th rank. We will just move our king away here and simply take these 2 pawns with our king, and then we win. Okay, so what can black do after we play rook h7? As I showed, he cannot take here, and he cannot take there. He will lose his rook. So let's look at the final rook move, rook f7. This is not good enough either. We can simply exchange here. We take, and then we take the pawn on e7. And look at this. The knight is perfectly placed here. It's covering the pawn as it is. Black cannot take it. Then we promote. So the king can only move between e8 and f7. That will give us time to get these pawns with our king and get the king into action, and then we will win. Okay. So the rook cannot move. King cannot go to d8, obviously, because of the check and the fork. So let's look at what the options are. Well, if he wants to move this f4, we will simply take here. It will be the same with other variation. If the king goes to d7, or simply moves the pawn to e5. Well, this is not good enough still. We will get a check. King comes to d8. The pawn moves to f7. And look at this. The knight protects the rook. The rook protects the pawn, and the pawn protects the knight. These 3 pieces are perfectly placed, and they cannot be touched. We will have plenty of time with our king to do whatever we want. Black cannot move his king to c8 because then we will give a check here and we will get a new queen. So he can just start running with his pawn, with with the pawns, and well, something like this. Yeah, we don't want to take it. We want to keep these three, but the king is surely good enough. Something like this. As I said, he cannot move the king. He cannot move the rook, so he will be in a zugzwang. We will just get the pawns, bring up the king, and then we win. So, main variation now. After rook h7, black only option here is to take the pawn on f6. And now this is not easy. I mean, we have a knight, and as I said, a rook and the knight against the rook is a draw. And now we get given 3 more pawns, but still we win. And that's because the awkward position of the king and the rook here. I will give you the next move. It's pretty obvious. We give a check here first, separate the king from the rook, and now we play rook a7. We are threatening a check here to win the rook, because this square is covered by our knight, so it's a really good threat. So we cannot just move a pawn or something like that. And of course, we cannot take our knight either. We simply win it like this, the rook, and we will take this pawn, and the double pawn against the rook is no match for white. It's easy win. So, okay, the rook cannot take, it cannot go here. The king can move back, which is the main variation, but let's just look what happens if we place the rook to e8. It's a pretty quick win also, of course. We give a check. King can only go to d7, and we follow up with a fork here on f6. And the the rook is lost. So, main variation is rook h7, takes the pawn, give a check, king d8, rook a7, and now black is just trying to keep the draw by moving the king back to e8. And now, okay, here we go. From here, pause the video again and see if you can find out how white wins from here. Go ahead. And here we go. Well, a rook check here, of course, king comes back, and we will just repeat the situation. If we check here, the king will come to f7, and we don't, let's look at it. We don't have anything here, really. We can try to check, and of course we cannot chase it. He will lose the rook, but simple king g7 will be enough. Threatening here, and if we exchange the rooks, well, we cannot win with a knight only. So after rook e8, the winning move is knight to h6. Such a great move. And just saying, he was threatening our knight, so we couldn't just take here on h2. We had to move our knight. Okay, so what about this? Why is knight h6 such a great move? Well, what is black going to do? He cannot move his rook here, he cannot go here, and he cannot go there either, of course, because of the check. And so if you lose the rook anywhere, he will lose. And this pawn cannot move, so he can only do 2 different moves, either f4 or go back with the king to d8. Let's look at f4 first. Here we play this great move. Doesn't matter if we move the pawn, we will get the knight to f5 anyway. Now again, look at this. We are threatening a check here, followed by king g8, and then another check with a fork. So he cannot just move the pawn. He has to deal with this threat somehow. And the rook cannot go here because of the check. And if he moves the rook away from this, well, we give a check and followed by the fork here. So again, the rook cannot move. Of course, if it goes all the way to h8, it's the same. Check here and the rook is lost. So basically, all he can do is move his king. But you see what happens if he moves his king. Well, then we simply can check here. We get this covered, this square here, so the rook is lost. So that's the brilliant of the move knight to h6. Okay, let's look at what happens if he doesn't move the pawn. Instead, he moves the king. How do white win from here? This is the main line. If you want to pause the video again, go ahead. Okay, here we go. The final moves here. We give a check on f7. Of course, the king can only go to two places. He cannot take here. He will lose the rook, and we have an easy win after that. If we move away with the king, well, then we simply win the rook. So, again, it's only one move black can do. Okay, so it goes back to e8. The king goes back and forth. We have seen that a lot. Now, again, what do we do? It's not really easy to see, but there is a brilliant move for white here, and it is knight h8. Look at this. I mean, we started on g8 here, and then we just moved it around and ended up on h8. And what's so great about the knight on h8? Well, again, he cannot move the rook. He will be taken here, here. We just simply check, and the same. This is a check because we covered this space. And if the king moves, well, now we have a simple check followed by the fork. So this is the point of the knight to h8. We're going to land it on g6 eventually. And really, what else can you do? You can play f4, but it's the same variation. Check, king has to go up, and we fork, and we win the rook. So basically, after this brilliant move here, the knight to h8, black can simply resign, because now there's no more defense. The rook will be lost in the next couple of moves, and white will win this for sure. Such a very special chess study, I would say. The knight didn't look for much here on g8, but he moved around a bit and a lot, and finally he will come to g6 when he will really conquer everything. All right, thank you for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give me a thumbs up and come back to my channel again. Have a great day. Bye bye.